How are you guys every morning? I would love to know where you guys are tuning in from. And if you would just share some of the scores that I asked you about, the alkaline health metric score. We redefined some things yesterday. I gave you a different perspective about your health and where we're going. Really, a lot of the things that I talk about, it's really based on my experience. And a lot of the times, my experience as a patient is very different from a practitioner point of view. So first of all, I want all of you guys to count your wins, no matter how difficult or easy it might have been, the session that we had. I think we got a lot of feedback that it did change your energy level or the chi level or what have you, as you kind of followed with me the posture exercises. Today, we're going to be doing a lot of alignment and posture. And I just want to say that you showing up proves that you are the kind of person who is committed to your well-being no matter what. And that's a lot more than what you can say. And I just want to let you know that the stigma around autoimmunity of it being so negative and limited, I want us to really put that in our back pocket and really think about where we want to go, how we want to feel. If you really look at the health metric that I talk about, it's a lot of the way we want to feel: pain-free, joyful, thankful, all the things that we want to feel. Because a lot of the times people think healthy is the baseline of just not having symptoms. But you and I both know just because you don't have symptoms or the labs are okay doesn't mean you feel well, right? There's a lot to be said about the psychosomatic disorders. We discussed yesterday the problem with autoimmunity, how difficult it is to diagnose. There are 80 different types of autoimmunity, and the symptoms manifest differently for every and each one of us. And the challenge was all about gaining self-awareness and sense of self, of your body, so that you can be empowered ultimately to help yourself heal. And that's the long term. It's really the only way you're going to heal yourself long term. We also learned about stress, the intangibility of stress affecting our autonomic nervous system, specifically driving our sympathetic response, which is the stress response, really, raising the cortisol and all the symptoms of sympathetic driven stress response is what causes ultimately autoimmunity. And it's not something that's addressed specifically in any of our holistic approaches. If you think about most of the autoimmune interventions, it's all about them telling us what not to eat, what we can't do, what we should avoid, all the limiting stuff that keep us really in a box of living this safe autoimmune life. And I just have to tell you, I've been one that's been sort of pushing the edges a little bit to really challenge myself with the sun exposure, because at the end of the day, I can't not see the sun. And I feel like there is got to be a better way, better diet than something so strict and, limited. And we all know that probably 98% of autoimmune patients have digestive disorders too, but that goes for psychosomatic disorders as well. And we learn how to move our bodies in a way by engaging our muscles properly, how the musculoskeletal system, the muscles with the bones, with the nervous system, that affects every element of your body, every system in the body, and why that's so important, okay? So today I want you to think about your goals, because I want you to dream big. Don't think, I just want to feel well, because what does that even mean, right? I want to be symptom-free. Symptom-free doesn't mean you're going to be well and healthy. I want you to go above and beyond to really think about it, because most of you want to get better, but to get better is just to feel better. But feeling better still is not healthy. It's not the optimal state of being that I'm talking about. Just better than where you are is still marginal, right? without a clear definition of where you want to go, like the GPS system, you're always going to be struggling with marginal improvements, and that just doesn't last, and that's not enough for me here. So I want you to really think about a GPS system. It's only as good as you set it, right? Unless you set it, you might just go in the direction of West Coast, for example, towards California. But unless you are specific about where you want to go and have a vision for where you want to be health-wise, you'll never get there because you don't know that that's possible. And the part of autoimmunity and all the patients that I've worked with is we all have limited dreams because we've gotten used to the limitations in our lives, and we don't even realize that we're living with those limitations in mind. So we keep our goals really, really small. Remember, getting fit and strong is a prerequisite for not just feeling healthy, but optimal health. I really want you to go above and beyond autoimmunity to reach newer heights. And I just want to make sure you know that that's possible for you. Okay? We talked about the timeline yesterday, the timeline of autoimmunity, where I shared with you the volatility of the symptomatic phase with the flare phase, and then the stability phase of getting diagnosed and getting on some medications, to you mentally knowing, I'm not going to die. It's an autoimmune condition. You don't know what that means, but the doctors tell you it's incurable, but it's manageable, whatever that means. And so things get stable. And then you get into, from flare to remission is also stable. You'll only experience symptoms, pre-diagnoses, and then diagnoses one time. Some of you may be in the symptomatic phase. You suspect autoimmunity, but don't know yet if it's truly autoimmune. So that's okay. But then you're going to get into the cycle of autoimmunity, where it's going to be volatility of flare with the stability of remission. And that's the cycle that you're going to be circling over and over again. And that's the stigma of autoimmunity, is we think remission is okay. We're always going to have autoimmunity. Even the labs are normal. We always say once you have autoimmunity, you're never cured, is what we're told. Guess what? Placebo effect means we believe in whatever the authority tells us. And that's what I want you to challenge. Because I shared the timeline, like I said, the autoimmunity that starts with symptoms only, then the diagnoses get stable, and then the flare back to the remission, back to flare and remission again. What I want you to realize is that unless you go far beyond autoimmunity to the optimal health, that you'll always be cycling in the field of autoimmunity, back from remission to flare to remission and flare. And remission doesn't necessarily mean that you're healed and you're okay, but many of you guys think that that's exactly where you ought to be. But I just want to tell you, for me, that's been that way for me too. I've gotten the flares, very detrimental, and then I would be in remission for a long time. Be in a flare, remission for a long time, cycling back and forth like 5 different times. And then I went on remission for about 8 years, the longest I've ever gone, doing all the things. And I thought I was so smart. I was out of the woods and I was so confident. And then COVID happened. Whether it's the vaccination, and there's the hidden truth, it can flare up a lot of autoimmune things. Not supposed to say that, but there's a lot of hidden research. Now it's coming out. It's not publicized so much, but it is what it is. Or many patients I've met who's had long haul COVID, they've gotten COVID infections, and somehow it stirred up the cycle of immunity to where it's a circumstance that we couldn't control. It's a life, circumstance that there is no predicting what it was going to do, right? Vaccinations, we thought you can't get COVID if you have vaccinations, but a lot of people are getting sick from the vaccinations. And not only that, you do still get COVID even after vaccination. Yep, that happened to me. And so I know that I've had COVID based on the antibodies that I have, but I didn't have antibodies after my vaccination. So I know that I was infected despite the fact that I had the COVID vaccination. So whatever that's worth, that's just sort of, I say that to say there's some unpredictabilities in the world, and we have to really recognize that. Okay. So we want you to go far beyond. And the concept that I want to share with you was the 4-minute mile. And I want you to raise your hands and say yay or nay about if you know what 4-minute mile phenomenon is. Because this is called the Roger Bannister effect, the myth of the psychological breakthrough. The story goes that Bannister crushed the 4-minute mile mark and allowed runners to dream of the impossible. And then after what was so physiologically impossible, the 4-minute mile, after Bannister crushed that, there's a lot of people that have now crushed it since, because that limitation is lifted off, right? We put the limitations on ourselves. Parallel to that is our autoimmunity. We're told limited, like put the brakes on, put the limitations on, and don't do the thing, right? And so I want you to really utilize this 4-minute mile phenomenon to understand that that too is a limitation that's been put on us as autoimmune patients. So I want you to think beyond the scope of autoimmunity and always know fitness, health, and strength and vitality and wellness is there, but we have to get above and beyond the cycle of autoimmunity. To get there is why I'm challenging you physically, because we know musculoskeletal aspects of our health is the most important. I've said this before, 3 important things to take note of, okay? If you saw savvy, or if you are a savvy autoimmune patient who's tried everything under the sun, you'll notice this training isn't some basic regurgitation of information that's been said before. I'm taking a different stance to say we must be our fittest, strongest, and the most healthy versions of ourselves, and that is possible from my experience of being an autoimmune patient for 22 years and trying everything under the sun. What I'll be sharing works for every kind of autoimmune condition or any chronic conditions, no matter what type of flare you may be having, severe to mild or not even diagnosed. If you're looking to improve your life significantly, significantly despite autoimmunity, you better understand that it affects everything, not just your health. It affects your relationships. It affects your career. It affects your livelihood. It affects your health. It just affects every element of your life. And that's something that isn't spoken of. And I don't think we do it enough to self-reflect to understand what stressors that ultimately led us to where we are today, okay? And this is the stance that I take. I believe mind-body alignment is really the only long-term solution to regain your vitality and health from autoimmunity, okay? This is said again, mind-body alignment, and you'll understand what that is and how you can get there through this week. So stick with me, okay? It's the only long-term solution to regain your not only health or stability, your vitality, health from autoimmunity, okay? Your health is really about, and what it's really not about is that your health really isn't an entitlement. I used to think health was a basis for everything. And when I was inconvenienced with sickness, I would get irritated. So I want you to understand your health should be a priority, okay? You exist today with the right to the healthiest body, okay? And that's where we're trying to go back to. It should be easy, provided that we create this mind-body alignment. Your health comes down to your mobility, like I said, and that's what we're focusing on, because musculoskeletal system affects just about every system in the body, including your immune system. And it provides you control over your body and mind through the neurological central nervous system, okay? Mobility improves, like I said, all systems in the body. That includes the hormone system, the immune system, neurological system, the cardiovascular, hormones, and even digestive system. So the question is, how do you improve your mobility, right? So I created 6 pillars to improve the proper mobility, because I'm not just talking about mobility that's going to get you sicker or cause injuries, because many of you guys have already reached out to me telling me all kinds of limitations in your joints, because autoimmunity, guess what it attacks? Our musculoskeletal system. So I know that mind-body alignment seem far-fetched when I say, what is that, right? You guys are probably wondering, what do you mean by mind-body alignment? Well, and then also because you don't know, in your mind, it might be intimidating. But I want you to know that all it requires is to get moving and connect with your movement through the breath, cardio, or central nervous system, right? The breath, the respiration, to connect the movement with the body, because then you are connecting your mind and body to get aligned. It's as simple as that, and I want you to just stay right there. It can transcend above and beyond that, but right now that's what I want you to focus on. Over time, your mind and body will align naturally, and you'll gain the clarity you need that starts from the inside out. And then you'll ultimately understand that healing starts from the inside out. So how do you establish mind-body alignment? How do you apply it, right? Because really, mind is the thoughts, body is the experience. How do you do it the right way? Those are all things that I want to answer for you as we move together. Okay. Mind-body alignment isn't something to learn. It's something you experience, but it starts with physical posture and alignment, which is the topic of today. Okay. Mind-body alignment has 6 pillars, like I said, and each pillar serves a specific purpose and is fundamental to mind-body alignment. And if you leave a pillar out, the body will crumble. So it starts at the base. It's all about the foundation of your movement, where you're seated, where your contact point is between your body and earth. If you're seated right now, it's your sit bones to the chair, to the ground, right? And then maybe your feet are on the ground as well. You have to consider that the foundation. And then from there, you go into, am I aligned from that foundation so all the joints stack up properly, right? And then the third thing is core. Core physically means that core musculature of your abdominal cavity, right? It's what stabilizes your body to provide you with the proper stability around the spine that allows you to move dynamically, safely. Fourth pillar is polarity. It's about the pull and push. So it's all about elongation from the navel center to the crown of the head. It's going up, arrow going up. And then from the navel center, for example, if you're standing, to the 2 feet, going down. So you have this polarizing effect to where you can keep your posture long and tall. You've all heard of the term when you were growing up, right? Stand up tall, keep your posture up, whatever that means. But we have to do it with proper core musculature to support you from the foundation, alignment, core, and polarity. And then once you achieve that polarity, then I expect you to tune into your breath. That's right. You want to really focus on the breath, because without breath, you can't function. Okay. So focusing the movement with the breath is super important. And it really allows you to center your mind in the body so that you are connected from the central nervous system to the musculoskeletal system, enhancing everything in between. Okay. Last thing is balance. Balance is all about creating balance between the left and the right side of the body. Okay, super important to keep everything aligned to make sure we keep the health of our joints. Our body is like a home. It must be founded on a strong foundation before the walls, doors, and the floors are put up, even the furniture. If the foundation isn't strong, then the whole house can fall apart, like I said. The alignment of the structures and the frame of the home, the core, and the balance are all essential, as you know, for a healthy home, right? If it's crooked, it's crooked. So remember I said healthy redefined. Healthy home equates to a healthy body, okay? Healthy is redefined and it's got acronyms. It's got to be harmonious. It's got to be ease, right? Or easy. It's the opposite of dis-ease, right? Disease. We want to create ease. And then the third thing is awareness of our body, mind and body. And then L is for love, self-love first. And then T is truth seeking, really defining what your truth is. And H is healing. And Y stands for you, because you're at the core of everything. Remember, we talked about the alkaline metric. Most of the characteristics that we measure, it really is more about your state of being. It's about the feeling. How do you feel? How do you think? We focus on that rather than the hard numbers of labs, because labs tell us very little. They can fluctuate, but the way we feel determines everything. The way we feel determines our labs, okay? So our feelings are first and foremost. So I really want you to focus here to understand that really at the end of the day, if your mind and body is aligned to create this positive net effect based on the score that you receive by being more mind and body aligned and getting you to move to shift your body from sympathetic, stressful response to a parasympathetic, which is a healing response, then nothing can really go wrong. We have to start at the foundation. My work is all about principle-based. It's common sense, really. The doctors don't know this because this is not something that can be tangible. It's not something that they can put their, education on, because they have to study the pathology, all the things that can go wrong. When you focus on all the things that can go wrong, more of that is amplified, in my opinion, okay? How you feel is ultimately what dictates your health, as it has the psychosomatic effect we talked about, right? And sometimes it's not explainable. So I want you to understand, I'm going to go back. I want you to understand that we do measure your energy scale, the joy scale, your attitude scale, your physical strength scale, your sleep quality scale, digestion scale, painless scale, your presence scale, as well as your gratitude scale and mobility scale. This pretty much tells me the most accurate way to determine your health, okay? So I want you to sit there. Yesterday, we talked about all the problems. Today, I want you to think about imagining your life full of energy, full of joy, and enjoying physical strength and fitness, mental stamina and resilience, and always feeling grateful, living without pain, sleeping soundly every night, always with a positive attitude, and mobility that keeps you moving freely, okay? This will transcend into your relationships with your spouse, with your kids, with yourself, with your colleagues, and it will translate into you being more capable to create financial capabilities, because your career will advance as a result of this. And naturally, you'll enjoy health freedom that gives you the confidence to live into the possibilities of what can be possible when you're in your healthiest and vital state. Key is to focus on health and vitality versus autoimmunity and its limitations, okay? Remember, again, the 4-minute mile banister effect, right? Everybody said human beings could not, right? They dynamically could not break the 4-minute mile. It's impossible is what they said until somebody broke it. And these days, 4-minute mile is the way to go, okay? It's doable because somebody broke the belief, the limiting belief that they couldn't. Just like autoimmunity is incurable, we should always limit the sun exposure. We should limit all the food sensitivities because we are so highly immunologically reactive. We should limit stress. We should limit living. We should limit our hours at work. We should limit the amount of exercise because we're highly inflamed versus thinking about how do I do more? How do I be more healthy and vital and do more so that I can be free from restrictions, free from food sensitivities? So by healing your gut, going to the foundation, I think very differently. I turn everything upside down because I, as a patient, want more for me than the limitations that are set by other people. I don't let other people set limitations for me. Only I get to do that, but I don't set any limitations because I want to go places. I want to be completely free. Okay? So with that in mind, are you ready to get moving and experience the mind-body connection? If so, I want you to go ahead and come to the mat. I'm going to do some things before because there was a lot of questions about some of you having some issues with getting on the floor, and then some of you having some issues with potentially having issues with knee arthritis so bad that you can't feel your knee. And I think that's a good thing for us to focus on because it's something that is very commonly seen in my physical therapy practice. I hope you guys can see me. So I want you to just get a bolster of any kind. And if you can place it under your knee like this, I want you to go ahead and from there raise your knee or extend your knee. Bend and extend. Because we're not going the full range of motion, this is going to really help for you to really focus on your knee. And then I want you to keep your knee nice and protected. Make sure that you're flexing and extending your knee in this plane of motion. You're not going sideways, but you're keeping it nice and straight. You might want to place your hands, cup it, on the sides of your knees to make sure that you're doing that, okay? And one of you asked me, how can you do everything or that particular exercise on the mat? Well, you do the same thing. Lift the knee and extend, just like this. If you're going to do this in this way. And if you feel like that's too much for your hamstrings and you don't have that, then you can do it this way on your mat, okay? So there's modifications that you can take. So I wanted to show you that. And now I'm gonna bring back my chair. And everything that I do today, you can do it on the mat. And I showed you how you can do it. Pretend like you're sitting in what's called Sukhasana on the floor. And if you're sitting in the chair, you can put your feet down just like this, okay? So sitting up nice and tall, I want you to go ahead and relax your arms down by your side. Bend your neck all the way down. And I want you to think about your breath. Roll your neck to the right. Inhale, nice and slow. Exhale, down and over. Inhale, roll it to the right. Very nice and slow. Don't feel like you have to make a big circle. Just go within your pain limits. Sitting up nice and tall. and back. When I talk about your posture, I want you to think about, just give me a second. I'm going to turn sideways. I want you to think about your ear lining up with the shoulder, shoulder lining up with your hip. Okay? So sitting up nice and tall. You're not postured this way where the ear doesn't line up with my hips anymore and the spine is flexed. But I want you to be nice and tall. Engage your core by pulling the navel to the spine, sitting up nice and tall. That somehow allows you to defy gravity and create that polarity. The foundation is my sit bones, my 2 feet, right? And that's where the weight is, mostly on my sit bones. So from that place, from my navel, I'm pulling up, right? I'm not sinking down into gravity where most of us live, okay? Even if you don't have autoimmunity, many people just hang on their bones. And that's not what I want. I want you to be active and I want you to use your muscles, because when the muscles atrophy, that's the most detrimental state that you can be, okay? Rolling to the right, inhale always. Exhale nice and slow to the left. And then bring it back and sit up nice and tall. And I want you to recognize the range of motion that's available in your neck. I want you to look up all the way. Pull the jaw towards your nose or the top of your teeth. And you should feel this gentle stretch here, but make sure you're sitting up nice and tall. And then roll it all the way down to get full flexion of the neck. And then bring it back. Right ear to the right shoulder, inhale. And back up. Left ear to the left shoulder and back. And then I want you to turn your neck all the way and look back as much as possible and back. And left side all the way back and back. That's what's available. The more you can do it with sitting up nice and tall with proper posture, the more range of motion you can gain. How many people do you know that have limited neck range of motion? They can't even turn all the way back without turning their whole torso, right? It's the neck range of motion. You want to make sure that you have that range of motion. That's called mobility. And your muscles must allow, and your ligaments, all the soft tissue around the spine must allow you to do a lot of that. And for me, your life's goal should be to keep all the ranges of motion nice and even. So now I want you to stretch your arms out like this. I want you to go palm up and palm down. Palm up, inhale. Palm down, exhale. Check yourself, sitting up nice and tall. Check your foundation. Check your alignment. Really pull in the navel by pulling in the core. Check your polarity, navel to the crown of the head, extending up against gravity, breathing. And then finding balance between the left and the right sit bones, right? Those are the fundamental things. And if you're like most, you should be feeling this in your shoulders. Wow. You're holding up your arms, just the weight of your arms up against gravity. And a lot of you are probably feeling this in your shoulders. So now I want you to hold the palm side up. And then I want you to go ahead and take your left ear to the left shoulder. And then turn your right palm down. And you should feel this stretch and hold. 3, 2, and 1. Palm up and bring it back. This time, right ear to the right shoulder and palm side down on the left hand. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And come back and both hands down and up and shake it out. Woo, you're going to feel a lot of energy in through your arms and in your shoulders. And bring your hands down by your side. Okay. From here, I want you to roll your shoulders up to your ears and pull it back. Inhale up and exhale back. Inhale up and exhale back. Inhale up and exhale back. Make sure you connect the movement with the breath. Foundation, right? Let's check your pillar. Foundation, alignment, core, polarity, breath, and balance. And you should feel a lot of the weight in the shoulders, and some of you guys might feel things like lock up in the neck. I want you to have your hands cradle your neck and have your fingertips towards the back of your neck and just sort of massage your sides of the neck musculature. Nice and slow. And then I want you to bring your hands down on your lap. I want the left ear to the left shoulder, sitting up nice and tall. And then the left hand, grab the right side of the head, sitting up nice and tall, pull it towards your left shoulder. Right hand reaches beneath the chair and create that polarity. And you should feel an intense stretch on the right side of the neck. I want you to be aware, not too much, just enough. And keep breathing. And back center. And lower your hand. Same thing. This time, I want you to bring your right ear to the right shoulder. Left hand grabbing below the chair. Right hand on the side of the left side of the head. And pull gently. Should be feeling it in the left side of the neck. Breathe. And breathe. And back up and release. Very good. I want you to gently now interlace your hands behind you. And if you have to go a little bit forward, that's fine. But I want the hands to be able to reach up, right? Reach back without leaning forward. Stay up and see if you can just pull your hands up. And I'm going to choose to put it on top of my back of my chair and sit up nice and tall and check myself. My foundation, alignment, core, polarity, catch my breath, and balance. And this should feel really intense stretch on the front side of your shoulders. And breathe. And gently, I'm going to bring it down. It's going to feel really, really intense. So now I want you to go ahead and inhale, lift your arms up and extend your spine. Exhale, bring your arms down and flex your spine, tilting your pelvis back. Inhale, roll your pelvis forward and extend. Exhale, collapse your ribs, tilt your pelvis back and take your arms down. Inhale up and exhale. Nice and slow. Inhale up, being aware of your movement. Make sure that the shoulders stay relaxed, your face stays really relaxed. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. Very good. I'm going to face you. Right arm goes up, stay nice and long. Bend over and gaze up. Stretching the right side of the body. We're not collapsing on the left side, staying long, creating that polarity. And exhale down. Left arm up, inhale. And exhale over, gazing up. Bending into my right elbow. And back. Always checking my foundation. My alignment. Core. That polarity. Right? And breath and balance. Being aware, moving slow of how things feel. Everything should feel good. Inhale and exhale. And back. Opening up your chest in this way. And the rib cage allows us to really expand the rib cage. And the lungs allow for better, improved capacity. And we're connecting the movement with the breath to really accentuate the metabolic waste and metabolic exchange, oxygenation, and getting rid of that carbon dioxide. These are all very important. Okay. Sitting up nice and tall, right hand outside of the left knee, and twist. And back. Left hand outside of the right knee, twist. Squeeze your belly. Everything applies. Foundation, alignment, core, polarity, breath, and balance. And continue to focus. Foundation, alignment, core, polarity, breath, and balance. And keep going. Squeeze your belly. We're getting a little taste of core engagement, but we're going to do more of that tomorrow. But this is just to get you to be aware. And back center. And really walk in place to get some movement in the hips. And if you can, place the left ankle on top of the right knee. Sit up nice and tall. Okay? Left toes up if possible. And then I want you to hinge forward from your waist. So I'm going to go sideways, sitting up nice and tall. I'm going to go forward without rounding my back. And breathing. And you should feel an intense stretch on the hip. And they say hips carry lots of our stored emotions. The emotions we fail to feel. Toes up and breathe. Chest forward. Breathe. Breathe. And breathe. And come back. And lower the left foot down. Right foot back up. Toes up. Nice and tall. Hinge forward. And you should feel the stretch into the right hip. It's not uncommon for you to experience like tight pinching in your hips. If that, you might not even need to go forward. You might want to just sit in this position and get used to that, right? The more we can go, it's almost like you're taking your joints and your body into places and positions that you've never gone before. And the more you can go, the more you're paving the way to go there easier and easier thereafter. And then you create a new path for your body to get there, like the joints. And as you know, we autoimmune patients have a lot of inflammation in our joints and specifically the hip. And so if you can really move the hip and get your joints in that range of motion and challenge the muscles around it, the more you can flush out and metabolize all the inflammation in that joint that's been stuck for a very long time to finally be released and let go. Use your breath and come back. Lastly, right ankle on top of your left knee. Make sure that your sit bones, your foundation is even and you're carrying the balance between the left and the right hip. We're always working the side to side, front and back, always establishing a balance between yin to the yang, acid to alkaline, right? It's all about that polarity, push and pull, and breathe. Because really at the end of the day, life is all about push and pull, isn't it? And back. Yesterday, I showed you how to really stretch the backside of the legs. So today I want you to go to one side of the chair and take that left foot back. So I'm more towards the left side of the chair where I can take my left hip back. And I take my foot all the way back. Right foot stays in front. You should feel this nice stretch into the left front thigh and breathe. All this without getting on the floor, right? This is a crescent pose if you are doing it on the mat. Even for those of you who are expert yogis, this is still beneficial to really understand the foundation alignment, core polarity, breath and balance, connection, and experience all the pillars safely. And then once you can do this safely, we build layers and steps strategically to allow your body to get used to all the movements. And once it learns how to do it safely, all the power to you. I like to have my hands on my hips to keep this pelvis level, because a lot of the times we're crooked, right? I want you to always keep that nice and squareness into your pelvis and breathe. Significant stretch on the front thigh, and it's really feeling good to me. And back. When you move in this way, through your movement, it really does transcend into your mind through the central nervous system. It gives you a boost of energy. When you have a boost of energy, you feel good on the inside. Guess what you have? Positive attitude, more confidence. All those things carry over. And your capabilities in life then translates to better things, better relationships, better health, and better career or even ability to create finances, right? Improve your financial situation. And again, it starts with you on the inside. If you think you can, if you think you can't, you're right. You will always prove yourself right. And so be very careful of the things that you think about. And I want you to sit here nice and tall, taking a deep breath in and exhale. Recognize yourself for showing up. Inhale and exhale nice and slow. Within ourselves, always remember we have the power to shift from negative to positive. We have the power to go from mediocre to excellence. We have the power to go from just stable, just above sick, to really thriving and having the most vitality and health that you can imagine. It all depends on whether you envision it for yourself or not. We have a way to really bypass our computer system, which is our brain, that operates our whole body And the power really is in you. It's not somebody telling you what specific diet to follow. It's not somebody telling you what specific supplements you should take. It's not somebody doing acupuncture on you or thrusting your spine like chiropractors. Those things are all helpful only to the extent that you have mind-body alignment and ultimately mind-body mastery, right? And so I want you to really take account of the health metrics that I talked about. And I really want you to think and sit and reflect upon your experience that you created for your body, no matter where you are. Just first of all, recognize yourself for being here to experience what you experienced. Take note of how it felt for you. And then from there, we keep building, we keep progressing forward. Any step is a progress forward. Just choose not to take a backward step, okay? Even if it happens due to your physiological state of being sometimes, because it's unpredictable with autoimmunity, you still choose to move forward no matter what. And so as long as you do that, any step is a forward progress, especially if you show up with the right attitude, okay? Keep yourself in check with the health metrics that I taught you and keep that in mind, and let's use that as a most vital source of our measurement of health, okay? I really want to thank you for joining me and for showing up. I am so proud of you, and I'm so happy to be serving you in this way. I would love it if you share in the feed in our Facebook group some of the takeaways. And I just want you to tell me this was really helpful or not. What else can I add? What other modifications? Remember, I have 22 years of physical therapy experience working closely, specifically with autoimmune patients, as well as all the other things. There isn't a case I haven't seen. Tons of experience in getting people from complete debilitation to thriving, from sports athletes, elite performance athletes, to very, very sick patients. No matter where you are, I got this covered. Now is the time to really ask away and make sure you gain something out of this. Because by the end of 5th day, I want you to be able to move